Okay, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about this front differential off my 2019 King Quad 750. As you can see, it is a mess in there, and you do mud and go water riding and mudding up, you're going to eventually have issues somewhere. And I kind of had an issue where, which I don't think really had anything to do with that, but my four-wheel drive stopped wanting to engage. And even though I'd push the button, just nothing would happen. And so two things. If you go to partzilla.com and look up a front differential, if you ordered the whole thing, $1,400. I went to the dealership, it's about $2,000 for this entire assembly. There's no way I'm going to pay $2,000 for just a front differential. And if you take it to a dealer, I know the Suzuki dealer in town, they're about $155 an hour. So either way, you're looking at some big money. So I thought maybe at least that I could try to at least crack this thing open, see if maybe there was something obvious in here that was causing it not to engage. And there's almost no videos about this kind of stuff. So I figured since I had this open, it might be a good video to make. Maybe to help somebody else out, and at least that you can get an idea of what's inside of a front diff on a King Quad. So getting this thing off is well, of course, you know, you got to take your whole front end apart basically to get this differential out. And I've got a couple other videos, because there was, seems like over one weekend I had several issues just kind of all happen at once. So there's going to be a couple of videos here lined up, but in the meantime, this is what, when you split this thing open, this front diff, you split this diff open, which, by the way, the actuator, and I need to go get that, but the actuator is going to go here. It bolts onto here. Matter of fact, let me just go get that. Okay, make sure I'm back. Everything's the video. I got my phone here to so I can make sure the camera's in the right place, because I got this GoPro. But here's the actuator to the King Quad. There's the motor. The first thing I did is I made sure that this actuator was good, plugged it in, and it spins, turns over. And what basically this does here, as far as the actuator, it bolts on here, and as you can see, it's got a little beveled shaft, I guess, which goes in here, and then when it puts power to it, it spins this. It turns this little shaft, and inside of here, it spins this here. Now you have to imagine that when this is together, it's going to spin this, comes over here, and this is what actually activates the four-wheel drive. In this position here, don't know if you can see that really well, but as it spins, there's your, I think, pinion gear there. So this is two-wheel drive. When you engage the four-wheel drive, your actuator comes on, spins this. This little piece here sits inside of here, and as that spins, what happens is it will slide this over. Now, right here is where I think I'm having the problem. I'm not sure, but if you notice, matter of fact, I can just take this out. So I'm going to take this out. This is what happens. There's two-wheel drive. this little actuator spins, turns this over here, it takes and slides this way. Now I think that right there might be my problem, because as it slides, it's getting stuck. You have to spin this a little bit. That is what I'm not sure about. But either way, that will spin. Now you've got four-wheel drive, because this gear turns this gear, and that's what makes your four-wheel drive. You disengage it, it goes back out. Now you're back to two-wheel drive again. So that slides over, four-wheel drive. And this little sleeve here just goes back and forth. So I'm going to just put this back like that. This little pin goes in. Let's see what else. It's got a little, I think this is a shim. I did get a Tech Spark manual, a service manual online. It does a pretty good job, but it's at the same time, it's a little hard to follow and maybe a tad confusing. But it's a pretty good, I mean, it's better than nothing. If you know anything about them, it's probably good enough to get you to fix a problem. But I can't see too much in here visually. I mean, all the bearings seem good. Everything seems good. The only thing I can think of about my is right here. When this thing actuates, it doesn't tend to want to go. It wants to hang right here in this position. And then, of course, all you do is turn this a little bit, and it'll slide over once the teeth on the sleeve catches the teeth on this gear. So I'm going to set that there. So so when you take this apart, what you have to do is slide this over till you got to take this right here out, this little pin out. And then you have to kind of line, because this right here is what activates your differential lock. But in order to get this out, if I can get it out now, there you go. So all this comes out just like this. You have another little shim that goes back in there like that. And this is basically your gear. I think this right here is what activates or engages the diff lock. Basically what happens is that fits in there like that, and it slides this up and down, which I think activates the diff lock. So, and then to get it back in, it's got a little notch here. There's a notch here, and that goes in it, fits in it. Get that lined up, get that lined up, and then it just slides back down into it, just like that. And then put your pin back in here, and hopefully you can kind of see this, but when you hit the diff lock, this actuator will go even further around, and what will happen is it will actually come over further all the way around and slide this up, and it pulls that little piece that I showed you a minute ago and engages the diff lock. So that's basically it. I mean, it might sound intimidating pulling one of these differentials apart, but it's really not. It's not really all that bad. In case you ever want to tackle something and don't want to have to spend $2,000 on a differential, or at the end of the day, probably about the same thing by the time you pay what they charge for labor plus parts, if you can even get half the parts for these things. it may save you a little bit of time. And since I had this out, just wanted to kind of show everybody at least a basic idea of how this front diff works. So trying to think if there's anything else I'm forgetting. You could take pretty much all of this. You could take this pinion gear out and all that apart. I'm not going that far with it. Your oil seals, if they were leaking, I would have changed them, but they're okay, at least for now. And so I think that's going to be it. Just wanted to, since I had all this out, figured I'd make a quick video on kind of what this thing is on the inside, what it looks like, kind of how it works, in case anybody decided they want to tackle something like this. Give them a good idea where to, maybe what they're looking forward to. So that's going to do it from this one. And as always, thank you for watching.